Hi everybody, I'm Coach McCurry from Baseball by the Yard. Thanks so much for stopping by. Today's video is for hitters and for coaches and parents and so forth of hitters. Now if you go to a Little League field, I guarantee you're going to hear someone say to a batter, get your back elbow up, okay? Now if there is, say, a high school coach nearby or a college coach, quite often you're going to see that high school or college coach roll their eyes and go, oh geez, here we go, okay? Because among higher-ups in baseball, quite often you're going to hear them say, getting your back elbow up for a hitter is a myth. You don't do it, it's wrong, it's incorrect, and so forth. So stop telling hitters to lift their back elbow. Okay, so who's right? Okay? Now, before I talk about it, let's take a look at some major league hitters, some of the most premier hitters in baseball today. Take a look at these photographs and tell me what you see in each photograph. Okay, did you catch it? Every single one of those hitters, the best hitters in all of the world, have their elbow up. So you're like, wait a minute. The Little League coach or the dad is saying, keep your back elbow up. You have other people who are saying, that's a myth, don't do it. But then you turn on the TV and you see the best hitters in the world with their elbow up. So what's going on? Okay, here's my take on the whole elbow thing. Now, first off, I've said this a gazillion times on my website, baseballbytheyard.com, in written form. It is very rare that you're going to find a universal in baseball. Okay? You have to be very careful as a coach of telling kids you have to do it this way or you absolutely cannot do it this way. Because what is guaranteed to happen is as soon as you say you can't do something as a player, that kid ultimately is going to turn on the TV and see a major league superstar doing probably the very thing you said to the kid not to do. And so who is the kid going to listen to? An accountant who is volunteering as a Little League coach who maybe hit 220 in high school, or the guy in the major leagues who's hitting 300 with 30 home runs and making $10 million a year? Which one's the kid going to pay attention to? Well, if I'm the kid, I'm paying attention to what I see on TV. So here's my take with the elbow. And it's also the reason why I'm wearing batting gloves, because I'm going to show you how that can help us understand this. Now for me, it isn't so much where the elbow is, because obviously if those hitters in those pictures are hitting 300, they're the best hitters in the world, and they are lifting their back elbow, sometimes to a large extent, clearly it's not hurting them, okay? If it was, they wouldn't be as good of hitters as they were. So my standpoint, it isn't the elbow that's the problem. The problem with lifting that elbow for little kids is quite often what it does to the hitter's hands. And that's why I'm wearing batting gloves. So let's talk about another topic here for a second. Little kids often hear from coaches that it's important when you're holding the bat that you line up the knuckles. Now, if you've never heard that before, you're not sure what they meant by that, here's what they mean. If you look on my batting gloves, you will see that right over those middle set of knuckles, these batting gloves have a gray area, okay, which is why I'm wearing them. Because if I line up those knuckles, that gray area pretty much creates a straight line, okay? That's what they mean by lining up the knuckles. One of the mistakes some kids will make is they will turn their hands too much this way, and they don't line up their knuckles, which creates some problems, as you will see in a little bit. So lining up the knuckles is a better way to grip the bat for several reasons, okay? Now, why look at my elbows now that my knuckles are lined up. If I line up my knuckles and just relax, my elbows are down. Now, if you have a bat nearby, I want you to line up your knuckles on that bat or a pole or a broom handle or something and get the feel of this, okay? I'll give you a second to grab a bat or something to hold, okay? All right, so here we go. Line up your knuckles, okay? Now, what I want you to do is lift your back elbow up. Lift your back elbow up, okay? Now, see what that does to my top hand? When I lift my back elbow up, my knuckles get out of alignment, okay? That's the problem that a lot of little kids have when they lift that elbow. When they lift the elbow, it turns the top hand and their knuckles are no longer lined up. Now, if you have a bat in your hand, try this. Line up your knuckles, and then without moving your knuckles, lift your back elbow. And you will find that is a difficult motion, okay? But if you go back to those pictures that I showed you in the major leagues, any hitter that you see that has his elbow up also still has his knuckles lined up or close to being lined up. It may not always be exact, but it's not this. This is the problem with little kids, is they wrap their hands like this. The knuckles are not even close to being aligned. Okay? Now, I'm going to take a break here. I'm going to grab a batting tee, and I'll be back to show you what happens when kids mess up the alignment of their knuckles. Okay, I'm back with my tee here, and I'm going to show you what happens when hitters have their knuckles aligned and what problems occur when they do not have their knuckles aligned. If my knuckles are aligned, okay, I have a much better chance of keeping my bat on a consistent plane to the ball. Okay, for you golfers, it's very similar to why you hold the golf club more in your fingertips and your knuckles pretty much aligned. That keeps the head of the golf club on the same path, and it makes it more of a fluid swing on the same plane. Well, the same thing occurs with baseball. If my knuckles are lined up, it's very easy for me to keep the bat on the same plane. And if the plane of my bat matches the plane of the pitch, well, then I have a really good chance of hitting that ball. Okay, that, of course, that only works if my bat stays on that same plane. If I realign my knuckles, like a lot of kids unfortunately do, sometimes when they lift that back elbow, they get their knuckles out of alignment. This is what happens to the swing. Okay, so if I take a slow motion swing here, you'll see I start off on the plane, but then watch what happens. Did you notice that? The bat hops over the ball. The bat does not stay on that consistent plane. It starts, and then because my wrist and hands are aligned this way, when I start to swing further, it hops the barrel over the ball. And the hitter is either going to miss, or quite often he will hit the top of the ball and get a nice rollover ground ball, which is exactly what the pitcher would want you to do. Okay, so getting back to why I created this video. It is perfectly okay for hitters to lift that back elbow, okay? A lot of major leaguers do it, and they have a tremendous amount of success. So I would stop telling kids, you cannot lift your back elbow, don't do it. The focus should be on what the hands are doing. If a player can keep his hands and knuckles aligned or close to being aligned, doesn't have to be perfect. If they keep them close to being aligned and keep their back elbow up, the kid's probably going to be okay. If they're lifting their back elbow up and is altering their ability to align those knuckles up, now we got problems, as we just showed. So for me, it isn't an elbow issue. It is a how to hold the bat properly issue. All right, folks, so if you have any different opinions on that, feel free to comment below. Otherwise, I'm Coach McCurry signing off. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Take care.